Afghanistan wants answers from President Trump after he said this at the White House.
If we wanted to fight a war in Afghanistan and win it, I could win that war in a week. I just don't want to kill 10 million people. Afghanistan would be wiped off the face of the earth. It would be gone. It would be over in literally in 10 days.
A spokesman for Afghanistan's president issuing this statement: the Afghan nation has not and will never allow any foreign power to determine its fate. It is not the first time President Trump has threatened to obliterate an entire nation in a seemingly offhand remark. CNN politics reporter and editor-at-large Chris Cillizza joining us now with a little bit more of that history. Chris.
Yeah, Erica, there's a lot of that history, even though Donald Trump's only been president for a couple of years. Let's start with North Korea, and you'll remember this, or if not, we'll refresh your memory. This, what he had to say about North Korea and Kim Jong-un.
North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. He has been very threatening, beyond a normal statement. And as I said, they will be met with fire, fury, and frankly, power, the likes of which this world has never seen before.
And as always, Erica, we see his public pronouncements backed up by his Twitter pronouncements. These are a few of those. Remember, this is military solutions are now in place, locked and loaded, should North Korea act otherwise, in August of 2017. Then this one, Kim Jong-un, obviously a madman, will be tested like never before. Okay, so we seem like we're building up. Then this famous / infamous one, January 2nd, 2018, Kim Jong-un just stated that the nuclear button is on his desk at all times. Will someone from his depleted and food-starved regime please inform him that I have a nuclear button, but it is much bigger and more powerful than his, and my button works. Stunningly, that led to a summit between Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump. So that's part one of his rhetoric, but it wasn't just North Korea, it was also Iran. Here's 2 times that Donald Trump talked about Iran in very fiery terms. Play that.
We have the greatest people in the world. We have the greatest equipment in the world. We have the greatest ships, most deadly ships. We don't want to have to use them, but they're the most deadly ships ever conceived. And we are not, we hope for their sake they don't do anything foolish. If they do, they will pay a price like nobody's ever paid a price. I'm not looking for war. And if there is, it'll be obliteration like you've never seen before. But I'm not looking to do that. But you can't have a nuclear weapon. You want to talk good, otherwise you can have a bad economy for the next 3 years.
And again, Erica, the public pronouncements backed up by Twitter. This one from last month, June 2019. Talking about Iran. Any attack by Iran on anything American will be met with great and overwhelming force. In some areas, overwhelming will mean obliteration. Then he takes a shot at former Secretary of State John Kerry and former President Barack Obama. There's more. Let's go to the next tweet. Not sure why all caps are necessary here, but to Iranian President Rouhani: never ever threaten the United States again, or you will suffer consequences the likes of which few throughout history have ever suffered before. We are not a country who will stand for your demented words of violence and death. Be cautious. Now again, Erica, back to you, but reminder, in North Korea, the North Korea situation, he did wind up getting face-to-face with Kim Jong-un. You can debate whether that was smart diplomatically or not. Iranian situation, similar. Afghanistan, who knows where that one is ending. Erica, back to you.
We will watch. Chris Cillizza, appreciate it, my friend. Thank you. U.S. Army veteran Jason Dempsey served in Afghanistan, multiple tours in 2009, again from 2012 to 2013, and he also returned to the country briefly again in 2014. So before we get into what's really happening there at the moment, I'm just curious your take on the president's rhetoric.
So on the one hand, one of the things he's been consistently right is he's been able to tap into that frustration that the American people have with the lack of progress in Afghanistan. Now, he's been wildly ineffectual in actually changing the trajectory, but he's tapping into that desire to at least see some kind of solution. Where I think he comes across with a very simplistic view of military force is he wants there to be kind of a black and white solution. And if there's one thing we know about the use of military and foreign policy, it just does not lead to black and white solutions.
Right. And oftentimes, too, even just getting to that decision to use force, that is not a black and white decision either. There's so much that goes into it. You talk about his simplistic view of that. Do you think that the president has a real understanding of what the situation is on the ground today in Afghanistan.
Not at all, unfortunately. And I don't think, one, we haven't seen much attention paid to it. If you look at all the confirmation hearings we've been having, Afghanistan is almost never brought up. Members of Congress simply don't want to touch it. And part of that problem is that we've handed the issue over to the military entirely. And we have this faith that somehow if we just throw more military money, manpower, lives, and forces at it, that somehow we're going to come out with a decent solution. And so what we haven't seen is true sustained political engagement and a way forward in Afghanistan. And that's a failure not just of this president, but of previous presidents as well, to fully articulate and to justify to the American people why they're there and what they might achieve that's short of the full victory they've been promised.
So what does that do then? I mean, we talk a lot about troop morale, but I think it's important. What does it do to people on the ground if their mission isn't even clear, let alone, possibly concern with this type of rhetoric and what that could mean from a safety perspective? It's
very tough. And I'll tell you, the one thing, and it's been a blessing and a curse for the way the military has approached these wars, we've sent folks over on very short tours. And so if you're only there for 9 months, you do what you can. And more often than not, you can find that you've moved the ball a little bit, or at least you think that you've created some kind of success. Unfortunately, you cannot run a counterinsurgency campaign. You cannot rebuild a nation. It's fundamentally absurd to think that you can rebuild a country by sending leaders over on 6, 7, 9, and 12-month increments. You simply can't do it. You would not run CNN that way. The idea that we would run our military in a foreign country that way is utterly absurd. So on the one hand, individuals in the military who go over there find that, hey, I can make a difference in the short term, but those of us who sit back after having been there again and again say, well, wait a minute, what's this all adding up to? And that's where we need leadership.
We're pretty much out of time, but this just begs the question, do you think your time there was wasted?
Yes and no, right? I mean, I think that I and the units I was with did the best we could, but I don't think we were properly utilized. And I think we were a little bit delusional about how much change we could make both in Afghan culture and government.
Still a lot to be done and a lot to process.
Indeed.
Clearly, just really appreciate coming in today.
Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me.